Now you read it right. A bunch of YouTubers are being sued for $1 billion right now, which is ridiculous, bruh. Most of them are in the financial sector, but if you don't know Coffeezilla, he's like the internet detective. He be breaking down all types of scams. He's exposed a couple people before this, and it's actually been legit. And he gives us a little breakdown on it, so let's get into it.
I want to talk about the rest of this lawsuit. Basically, the rest of these influencers are accused of promoting FTX and getting paid for it. It also accuses them of not...
FTX, we've all seen those commercials. Brady was on one. Curry was on one. Some old bald dude was on one talking about, no, thank you. All of you might remember some of this, so this is crazy that all this is happening. But yeah, man.
Conducting adequate, if
$1 billion
any, due
on the
diligence.
table, bro.
Allegedly, these influencers played a major role in the FTX disaster,
Yes,
who
they
hyped
did.
the deceptive FTX platform for undisclosed payments. Now look, none of this is really surprising. We talked about this back in November, and it all feels inevitable. The whole reason FTX was so popular is because of the amount of money they dumped into these advertising campaigns. Everyone I know was offered one of these deals.
Bro, there's a bunch of celebrities. I'm pretty sure they had a Miami Heat on the payroll too. Their whole stadium literally was promoting FTX. Like, bro, it's definitely not just influencers. Like I said, Tom Brady, Steph Curry, even Shaq was up in there. I heard Shaq has been hiding lately too, but yeah, man.
Either way,
crazy.
it's pretty logical to see that without people willing to take the money and sell FTX, it just couldn't have hurt as many people. And already, we saw a similar class action lawsuit come out against arguably the biggest promoters, Tom
Larry
Brady,
David was in
David,
there?
Kevin O'Leary. And so this just seems like the
Shark
next
Tank
logical
dude.
step targeted at smaller promoters, albeit financial
Yeah,
education.
Sam Brinkman-Fried finessed the shark of all sharks, Kevin O'Leary, had him looking goofy as hell on all his interviews. His whole personality and the things behind him just took a hit. Like, bro, it's
Influencers
making
in
people
particular.
look goofy out
So,
here.
although these guys don't have as anything close to Tom Brady's popularity, the argument here is different. It's that people look to people like Graham Stephan and Meet Kevin in a different way than they looked at Tom Brady. If Tom Brady promotes some penny stock, you'll think nothing of it. But Meet Kevin, Graham Stephan, Andre Jick, Financial Jeremy, all they do is do finance all day long. They even have a podcast they called Millennial Money, which was sponsored.
Yeah, see, like, whenever you go after the YouTubers that are specifying in financial stuff, which I even look at Graham's videos, which is this guy right here. I look at some of his stuff, and some of his stuff's very accurate. But whenever, like, the targeting the YouTubers and making them promote it, even people on Instagram and stuff like that, like, it's more powerful than any form of advertising. And I actually do some advertising on all of the platforms. So, like, whenever you can get a hold of someone like this, whenever they have an audience and they talk to them on a regular basis, that trust is just like, it's locked in. So, like, if you can just shill your product off and they do no due diligence, I mean, you're gonna see some good returns. There's an article, I would bring it up, but yeah, they were saying the people that invest in YouTubers, they said for every dollar they put in, they're getting 6 back. So you can only think about whenever you nail down financial YouTubers and then you promote a product around that area, it's gonna even hold more. And the finance niche is worth more money than any niche on YouTube too. So
Sponsored by, you
that.
guessed it, FTX US, and is now deleted. And the point is, they position themselves as experts. And I think that's the real juice of this lawsuit, in contrast to, say, like, the Tom Brady lawsuit. The only analogy I can think of is, like, if someone tried to sell you a pill that was going to help you lose weight, and the two people promoting it is Jack Black and Dr. Oz, okay? Let's say you take the pill and develop uncontrollable vomiting. Who would you actually be mad at? You could say, well, Jack Black's more of a star, but ultimately, obviously, the answer would be Dr. Oz. Because he's expected.
In that case, I would definitely blame both, because I would blame Jack for just trying to get some money, and his team has enough, insight to figure out some stuff, but it's just for money. But I would be hella mad at that doctor, and he'd take a little public hit in his business and everything.
So
it would hurt him more.
Diligence. And the reasonable assumption is that Jack Black
not just
couldn't look into it even if he tried, because he's not an expert. And so I think that component probably will make a massive difference. I'm certainly not saying everyone who promoted FTX who didn't know anything about finance should be let off the hook. I think it's a huge problem either way that non-experts can shill financial products. I'm just saying it's worse if they are experts. But to make my position even more explicit, I don't think influencers of any kind should be allowed to promote these investment products. I think there's a huge downside to it and very little upside. I think you oftentimes end up hurting people.
I'm indifferent about that. There's some good products I found through advertisement, but 90% of them, hell no. So, I don't know. Maybe maybe you do have to take it all the way, because I can't say certain people that are experts can do it. So, I mean, a lot of the real worth investment opportunities, a lot of that isn't really divulged online. The nowadays stuff that's going on with TikTok and people needing clout and views, so they're sharing a little bit more information. There's some stuff out there that you can learn, but the real nitty gritty stuff, the real stuff that's got stuff churning, it's not on here. It's just like little bitty tip of the iceberg tips that you can do. So I kind of agree with this.
It's impossible to give broad financial advice in a responsible manner to a massive audience you don't know. But on that note, you might say, well, hang on a minute, Steven. I'm with you on not selling financial products, but they weren't selling that. They were selling FTX, right? Or FTX US. And this is where things get a little tricky, because yes, there's some truth to the fact that FTX US was a platform, but on that platform, they were also selling financial products. You see, you could buy what was called a yield-bearing account, or you could put your money in it. It's where they offered you 8% a year. And this wasn't just FTX, this was FTX US. And that's a problem because, well, this type of account is probably an unregistered security.
Yeah, I blew up all my trading accounts before I could even do nothing, so I wasn't affected by this.
To avoid going into too many details, let's just say several different accounts like this have been targeted by the SEC as being unregistered securities, and the FTX earn accounts would be no different. So this is where the lawsuit gets its claim that these influencers may not have just been promoting a scam, they may have been promoting an unregistered security. Now, to be fair to these influencers, these earn accounts were in a strange gray area. According to the website, the FTX app earn is available only in permitted jurisdictions, which would appear to mean that the United States of America was not allowed to have these accounts.
If it's called FTX US, I mean,
but
I would expect them to have their stuff
together. In free fashion. What they said on their website wasn't actually true. You see, these accounts were actually available to U.S. investors. As seen on a screenshot from their own app, quote, FTX earn rewards are available for U.S. users on a promotional basis. And admittingly, this was confusing to a lot of people.
Little loophole.
Said, FTX earn for U.S. customers is incredible, but very poorly marketed.
So many loopholes out here for cash.
It almost feels intentionally hidden, which should have been a red flag. And maybe it was, but it was there. And like it or not, if American investors put money into this earn account, we could earn 8% a year because of one of these influencers. They may have sold an unregistered security, which would be bad, not just for the person who put their money there, but also bad for the influencer. I mean, look, it's all bad. It's just legal jujitsu to kind of get to the obvious. Ultimately,
sound like somebody finna come up off some paper, though.
Getting paid, and now they're getting sued for it, to which I say, good. Although, not everyone believes this particular legal strategy is going to hold water. I asked Legal Eagle, a well-known lawyer on YouTube, what he thought.
And my thoughts, man, I hear the billion, but in all cases, we hear people shooting high just to get a little bit less than that. I think they will get charged for something. I don't think it's going to be $1 billion, though. And it's not just one person is owed $1 billion. It's a collective, so it's going to be various amounts, but... yeah, this one's going to be...
He was doubtful about its chances.
And basically, the entire case rests on a part of the Florida law that the plaintiff's claim connects the endorsers to FTX. I'm very skeptical of this. The section in question extends liability to any director, officer, partner, or agent for the seller if they personally participated or aided in the making of a sale. And if you're on YouTube...
I think you definitely would be, because they're clicking through your link, and the only reason why they're clicking through your link is because you said something. So by that law, by just common sense, I feel like they were part of that sale.
Or if you're a celebrity endorser, you're not a director of the company, you're not an officer, you're not a partner, and you're not an agent. You're not able to act on behalf of the company. You're just basically contracted to make a statement.
That's acting on behalf of the company because you're contracted.
Most of them, it relies on a bare allegation that they were, quote, paid to endorse FTX.
They were.
And then there's a subsequent allegation.
And they can prove that by bank statements. So, like, yeah, come on now.
It's so wishy-washy. It says, quote, it is hard to imagine that anyone who has done business with FTX, including paid endorsers, would not have personally witnessed one or more of the deficiencies identified by Mr. Ray. He's the guy who's in charge of the receivership of FTX in bankruptcy. And all FTX endorsers have extensive business dealings beyond FTX and surely would be able to identify business practices that are unusually problematic. Now, as a legal matter, I don't think that really changes anything. As a factual matter, it's just completely false that a celebrity endorser or a YouTuber would have any insight into the inner workings of FTX that the public does not have. That's just not the way.
That shouldn't matter anyways. Like, do your due diligence. If you do it, cool. If you don't, it is what it is.
Though at the same time, I wouldn't want to be these YouTubers
matter.
either who are going to have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars to their lawyers to
Like
defend against what is quite possibly a meritless lawsuit. I don't expect this particular lawsuit to go anywhere, but I think it is going to be a pain in the sides of many of these YouTubers.
Wow. So there's the official opinion from an expert. It'll probably cost the influencers a lot of money, but he's skeptical if it will hold up for the long run. Of course, we'll see how it plays out.
True.
But the last thing I wanted to do was not just ask a lawyer what they thought, but ask these influencers. Because, look, whether you think this particular lawsuit is relevant, it changes nothing about the ethics of this.
What are they going to say? Sorry, I didn't know. They've already been vetted by their PR teams or their PR, whoever represents them or manages them. All these people are huge. They got millions. They know what to say, and they've been told what
situation.
to say.
And I wanted to hear it straight from them. And most of them refused to comment for understandable reasons, but
yeah, the lawyer told them not to
respond, and here's what he said. You're being sued along with several others for the promotion of FTX. Do you think you should be liable? What are your thoughts?
It's terrible. I feel so terrible for the people who lost money from FTX. I feel so just the entire YouTube finance community has really gotten hit basically with egg on the face, so to speak, because of the association with somebody who ended up being a terrible fraud, and it's miserable. The way I compare it is, I was a real estate broker for quite a while, still am a real estate broker, and oftentimes clients ask us for vendor recommendations. Hey, who's a good electrician, who's a good plumber? And I've had this before where 98% of the time the electrician you recommend is great, and then one time something goes wrong, and that stuff happens. It turns into this situation where the person who's responsible is the person making the mistake. And I know it's terrible.
That's not true, because if they paid you $100 to go there and you didn't do that, you're entitled to get that back. Like, bro, the analogy, I understand it, but like, if you have a service where you charge people to literally, or you get incentive for sending people there, you should get in trouble for that.
Terrible, because it's like, hey, well, financial influencers, what? How come they didn't know? We didn't have access to financials at FTX. We had hired individual representatives like agencies, cleared agencies who do this sort of stuff.
Hey up, buddy.
They do all the vetting for us. That's why we hire people to help us. And so we don't have to look into the systems of what's really going on behind the scenes. And I think that's the same thing that happened to people like,
of course you don't. You're just taking the money.
Whomever else has been caught up in this. But I think that the worst case scenario out of all of this is the individuals who don't have access to their deposits.
But do you think you should, specifically you or me, Graham or anybody else like who promoted it? I think the difference is between you and Tom Brady is people kind of expect you guys to know. Do you think you should be, do you think you should be giving recommendations if you can't do the proper due diligence because, as you said, you don't have access to these financials? And then
fair question.
Do you think that given that you guys profited, I'm guessing somewhere in the realm of $1 million plus from these FTX things, do you think that you should give back all of that money?
So first, my expectation is my profit from FTX, just to be as transparent as possible, is probably somewhere around 225K. It's supposed to be closer to 300, but they never paid me the last payment. So I'm probably somewhere right around 220. I need to fact check that.
See, that's some nice money, though. That's some nice little chunk of change right there, though.
Somewhere around that. And ultimately, I agree with you. I think that there needs to be there needs to be a lot more diligence in when sponsorships are made with creators.
Yeah, because you guys are dealing with finances. This isn't a NordVPN ad where if things go wrong, something happens. This is like if something goes wrong, people's entire livelihoods are at stake. And for better or for worse, you guys are seen as
You're an idiot if you put your entire livelihood in some shit like FTX, though. Like, bro, come on.
The experts, and so you guys are held to that expert standard. It's like if a doctor recommended a pill that doesn't work and gives you some, gives you cancer or something.
I suppose it's also relevant to what people individually say, right? Because individually, I've always
notice how he didn't say he should pay the money back. He didn't say shit about that.
Crypto is extremely speculative, and
you should be
that
paying
it should
that
represent
bread
a tiny portion of your portfolio, if anything at all. On top of that, it's also incumbent upon the individual to take some responsibility that we know not your keys, not your crypto. That's been made abundantly clear. Even with these bank failures, I believe that ultimately depositors deserve some form of a haircut because ultimately they choose. Now, if I say, hey, go to,
so he's arguing that it should be on the person investing and clicking on their link that they just pretty much told you to click on because it's going to give you more money. He's saying that it's more on you and you should get your stuff back, but maybe not all of it. Just, shave a little bit off because, you should have done your due diligence. But the guy who pretty much pointed you in that direction and gets paid when you click on that link, he's not commenting on that.
Valley Bank and get a loan, and you're like, hey, I get a loan here, I get all these benefits. Ultimately, you take that risk. So it is incumbent upon the individual to take responsibility as well. Yes, a doctor can refer you, hey, maybe this medicine will work.
But the individuals aren't the experts. That's the whole problem, is they rely on experts to help them make this decision. They don't have the luxury of spending all day looking at finance and stuff like this. So they rely on people to make their decisions for better or worse. And then when things go wrong, ultimately people are going to look to the experts in the room and say, hey, what happened? And if the answer is, well, we just didn't do enough due diligence, sorry, that's kind of a problem. So I think that's where their questions.
And you're getting incentivized. The whole reason why they didn't do the due diligence, they looked at the cash, they looked at the celebrities that were doing it already. If the celebrity with 10 times my money has a team behind it, and they've more than likely vetted it because a celebrity has a bigger image than them, they have to control narratives and make sure it's up with their image. So if I saw Tom Brady and them doing it, I'll probably do it too and not do my due diligence. Like, why would I have to pay someone to do their due diligence? That's money saved by me. Okay, boom, more money for me. Then you get the probably 50 to 50K, 100K a video. Like, bruh, yes, they're not going to do due diligence. They're going to, when do you want it? It's here. Pay me my cash.
It's about like giving back all the money come from.
Paid from
have you spoken to anybody about just giving back the money to the people affected?
Thank
once
you.
Once all the cards are settled, or all the dust is settled, so to speak, and everybody gets whatever money is left back, whatever deposits are left, I'm a big fan of contributing to some sort of recovery fund when it's all over. Not because I feel responsible. I do not feel responsible, but because I feel sorry for people who, quite frankly, lost money because they either didn't listen to the advice of not your keys, not your crypto, or they put too much of their own portfolio on. If I go onto a gambling website because somebody says, hey, go gamble here, you'll make a lot of money, and I lose money, that's on me. And I want to be clear too. I invested in BlockFi thinking this was going to be a great investment. I put $420,000 into BlockFi. I lost every dime of that because the company went bankrupt. Now,
So that's why he doesn't feel like he should be entitled to anything. Obviously, I was talking about BlockFi a little bit earlier. BlockFi was legit. They had pretty much an 8% interest rate. If you put your money in, you're getting like 8 to 10% back. So that was like enticing. I almost did it, didn't do it, blew my accounts. It is what it is. But if you're getting incentivized to send people there, you should be paying that money back that you got paid to send them there. It's not like you were like, hey, yeah, just go over to FTX and yeah, man, they're awesome. Nah, bro, you got paid to say that.
I
You should
blame
pay every
Anthony
goddamn dollar
Pompliano
back.
for making the recommendation or suggesting, hey, you can invest with my fund into BlockFi. Absolutely not, because I'm a big boy and I take personal responsibility. So I want to be very clear, just because I suggest that, hey, there should be, and I'm happy to work with this, some form of like basically a charity. Let's be clear, that's what it is. It's not taking responsibility, because ultimately I don't think any influencer has to take responsibility for what somebody does with product advice. That responsibility should only arise if somebody actually hires somebody, like retaining an attorney, hiring a doctor for their own personal situation, or hiring a personal financial advisor. Otherwise, from there, it's a lesson to the whole community. We've got to be more careful with sponsors, and the viewers have to be, diligent about the own.
And the only thing that should be getting paid back from this guy right here is if you got paid for people to click on that link. Because you didn't get paid based on just you. You got paid for your audience and your audience size and how many people would be clicking. And when they clicked, you got money on the back end too. So like,
their own decisions.
Well, there you go, guys. Those are the thoughts of Meet Kevin. And I want to thank him for coming on. And maybe one day he'll start that charity he's talking about. Maybe not. But until then, I just want you to understand something the next time you're thinking of trusting a financial influencer. These promotional deals, how they work with things like FTX, is that there's a code associated with it that tracks sales. For example, you might have heard of somebody saying, hey, use code Coffeezilla,
that's what I
or
was
they
talking
have
about.
some link, right? So FTX can see how many people signed up.
Exactly.
With Kevin's link or
The fuck?
Jack's link. And
What is he talking
who
about?
takes responsibility when it's time to make money? The influencer. They take responsibility for you joining their platform. That's how FTX grew. They paid all these people who wanted to be
Come on now.
responsible for
Get
bringing
into
you
it.
in. But you know what happens when things go wrong?
Nah, Coffee, you should have cooked this nigga way more than that, bro.
Suddenly,
You should've
they're not
cooked him
responsible.
way
You did.
more.
It's on you. Isn't that a convenient switch up of who brought you in? At first it was them.
Come
and then
on.
you brought yourself in.
Yeah,
you gotta take
like, bro,
responsibility
what
for
kind
your
of
own
bullshit
actions.
is that?
I just don't think this is really working for people.
I didn't lose any money in this
really
situation.
just
That
benefits
just
the
pisses me
influencers
off.
and the financial companies, but hardly anyone else. It's bad for regular people, and I think there just really needs to be new rules in place about financial experts in the modern era. But hey, that's just my opinion. Hashtag not financial advice.
They do say that in their videos, so like, Man, that's just crazy that that dude actually said, "Oh, it's all on you, bro." What do you mean? But nah, yeah, we finna look at the comments real quick. I want to set the record straight. Me, Kevin, and I are not the same person. No one cares about that. Yeah, these comments are trash. But nah, yeah, man, like that's just kind of foul. And I feel like all the other people that are getting in trouble for this probably have the same viewpoint. But this is a case. They're being sued. We'll see what happens. It is $1 billion. I'll probably take at least 4 of these zeros off, and they might get sued for like maybe a quarter of that million total, and they have to put a little fund in, maybe pay like 50K, 100K, because they can track, and they do have the evidence of how many people you sent there and how much money you got for that. So if they make them pay that back, it is what it is. But we'll see what happens with this case. Coffee will probably have an update for us, and we will be on that. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.